Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a decent amount of things changing. Obviously, the NFL Combine gives us players skyrocketing up both Dynasty and NFL mock draft rankings, and vice versa. We all know Jordan Addison is falling like a rock, but before we get into this updated 2023 Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft, make sure you are dropping a like on this video. If you want to get into a fantasy football group chat with myself and a ton of people who play Dynasty, you can find the link to our Discord in the comment section as well as the description of this video. And as always, if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think that should be about it for this intro. Let's go through. Let's start it off at 1. Bijan Robinson goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19. Now, this is what we have according to Tankathon here, and Tankathon probably knows what they're doing. I personally don't understand why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be too interested in deciding to go with a running back in round 1, where in my mind, running back's going to be a position that you want to go after when you are ready to contend and not necessarily when you have some long-term plans. And I'm operating under the assumption currently that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really have no plans to contend this next season. I think it would almost be best if they start Kyle Trask, just full-blown tank, and then come away with Caleb Williams with the #1 overall pick in next year's draft. But regardless, Bijan Robinson will be the #1 player wherever he goes. Rachaad White would still probably be involved somewhat in this scenario. Of course, he's going to be a great pass catcher, but Bijan Robinson was a phenomenal pass catcher in college at the University of Texas. You can see those beautiful pictures behind us. And if we were to project him out long term, I think he would be that 3-down workhorse running back that we all know he profiles to be. But let's go over to our next guy. It's going to be a quarterback. I know we are probably going to have some disagreements here. I am personally going to go Bryce Young. Now, in this mock draft, Bryce Young goes to the Houston Texans at 2. You'll see later on that the Houston Texans are actually able to grab a wide receiver to pair up with Bryce Young, which you would so desperately need if you're going to be a Houston Texan. But Young would, in my mind, probably be the QB1 if we have NFL talent evaluators deciding to make this level of investment into him ahead of Richardson, ahead of Stroud, ahead of Levis, all of whom we'll talk about in just 1 second. And like I said, he is going to be seeing additional weapons, and the size doesn't look to be as big of a concern as people thought it was going to be going into the NFL Combine. Now, at 3, we will be going Anthony Richardson here. Anthony Richardson fell to the Las Vegas Raiders at pick 7. The Raiders, in my mind, would be a very good landing spot. I mean, you have Devontae Adams. At the same time, you have a solid running game with Josh Jacobs. Now, of course, we have some questions surrounding the overall organization, the coaching staff, but Richardson would most likely be the day 1 starter for the Las Vegas Raiders immediately. And why I am taking him over a CJ Stroud, why I am taking him over a Will Levis, is strictly because the rushing upside that you're going to find. I mean, Anthony Richardson, we all knew was going to be the best quarterback in terms of rushing yards and rushing touchdown in this class, but he goes to the NFL Combine, puts up historic numbers, especially if you're looking at the size that he is. And I know everybody is screaming now that he has to be the 102, and I completely understand why you'd want to go Richardson over Bryce Young if you're playing in a 1 quarterback format where they're really the only thing you care about is the ceiling. But in my mind, I definitely think that Bryce Young has a higher floor than Anthony Richardson from a quarterback talent at the NFL level standpoint. So it's interesting. I don't want to overreact to the NFL Combine period, especially at the quarterback position where there are so many nuances and it doesn't just come down to how far you can jump and how fast you can run. Now, at 4, we're going to be going CJ Stroud. He actually goes to the Indianapolis Colts at 4 as well. I mean, the reason that we're taking Stroud behind Richardson, like I said, is he doesn't have the same athletic ability. He's not going to have the same rushing upside, and we know rushing production is a cheat code at the quarterback position in fantasy football. I've said it all along. I actually really do like the landing spot of the Indianapolis Colts if we're just considering the fact that at the end of the day, this is a pretty well-run organization top to bottom, or at least it historically has been, where you're not finding yourself as a New York Jet. You're not finding yourself as a Cleveland Brown. I mean, Houston Texan, where we know, historically speaking, those guys have had a hard time developing. But now our last QB, you'll notice it's quarterback, 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 quarterback. If you see one of my recent tweets, you'll see I tweeted out that this draft class, this rookie draft time is going to be primarily Bijan Robinson, then a bunch of quarterbacks afterwards. That's how I assume it will be. Will Levis goes to the Carolina Panthers at 9. What is going to be interesting here is with the Panthers, they end up taking a wide receiver, in my mind, at a pretty strong value in the second round. Well, we'll get to that in just a little bit. And at the same time, you have DJ Moore. Will Levis has some rushing upside. Now, of course, it's not the same level of an Anthony Richardson, and he would be, in my mind, close to the day one starter with a lot of job security, being a top 10 NFL draft pick. But now this is where it gets difficult. And if you go to some of our recent videos, you'll see a very common comment that we've been responding to is, Mason, I am trying to pick between JSN or Jamir Gibbs. Where am I going? Where am I going? I really think between those two players in particular, really is going to matter both the landing spot and the draft capital that they see. In this mock draft, you have Jamir Gibbs going to the Miami Dolphins at pick 52. In my mind, phenomenal. Miami has nobody in that running back room currently. At the same time, you're going to an offense that should be very good. You're going to an offense that doesn't have a quarterback that's going to be running the ball. So in that case, in my mind, Jamir Gibbs would actually see a decent amount of targets out of the backfield. Now, of course, I'm not assuming that Jamir Gibbs is going to be able to be Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Travis Etienne, because the man's too small. The man weighed 198, 199 pounds. If you look historically, it's very difficult for those running backs to come out and provide you elite seasons. I don't know. Maybe I'd be falling for the landing spot. He's an incredible athlete, an incredible pass catcher. He gets the draft capital in this scenario on a team that desperately needs a running back to take opportunities. But now our next player, JSN, in my mind, a wide receiver in his own tier at this point, goes to the New England Patriots at 14. Now, it's always scary seeing New England go after a wide receiver as a rookie because we know that either New England is very bad at developing these wide receivers or drafting them. I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, the New England Patriots wide receivers always disappoint. Now, of course, we're operating with a limited sample, so, I mean, we can primarily ignore it. It's just a little scary. With JSN, he would immediately be the number one option in this passing attack, maybe behind Ramondre Stevenson. We don't know. Of course, he'll be number one. If we're going to be looking at JSN, I think he would fit exactly what the New England Patriots need, and the personnel would make so much sense. You have JSN being the volume hog over the middle, and you have Tyquan Thornton on the outside, stretching NFL defenses and providing space underneath for Jackson Smith-Njigba. So let me know what you think here. Would you go JSN at 6, Gibbs at 7, or would you even take one of these players ahead of the quarterbacks in Superflex? Now our next guy, we're going to go Quentin Johnston, goes to the Houston Texans, pick 12. It's an interesting spot in that I previously had him behind Jordan Addison, but with Addison going to the NFL Combine, weighing sub 180, it just looks so bad from a historical comp perspective that I think we have to make the adjustment. I think we have to put Quentin Johnston at 12. He would probably be the number one wide receiver in Houston. At the same time, Bryce Young will probably have this as a respectable offense. But as I've mentioned before, drafting a rookie wide receiver that's on the same team as a rookie quarterback is always a little scary because you have to bet that A, the quarterback on that team is going to turn out to be a hit, and then B, obviously, the wide receiver has to follow. Now, I don't really know what to do here with that 9. I mean, Jordan Addison is very scary, and he lands in a horrible landing spot. He goes to the Baltimore Ravens, pick 23. I will probably keep him here for now. Let me digest his NFL Combine a little bit more, because every year we go into the NFL Combine and I say, you know what? Combine doesn't really matter for wide receiver. Yes, at running back. Yes, at tight end. It is incredibly important, but for wide receiver, we want to look at these guys and how they won in college, their production with context, blah, 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 blah. But Addison coming in and being so damn small, not only being small, but at the same time being a little slow. Like, if you're looking at this, the man weighed 173 pounds. There have been 3 wide receivers since 2014 to finish as top 24 guys under 180. Devonta Smith, John Brown, and Deshaun Jackson. I mean, the man went out there and ran a 4.49. I can guarantee you he's not Deshaun Jackson. I can guarantee you he's not John Brown. Now, of course, everybody wants to say, well, Mason, that means he's Devonta Smith, right? We just saw Smith dominate this past season. He looked phenomenal in the Super Bowl, blah, blah. Yes, I understand it's fresh in everybody's mind, but you have to remember how good Devonta Smith was in college. The man accounted for over 50% of the passing offense for Alabama. The man had over 1,800 receiving yards in the SEC at Alabama. Jordan Addison is in Devonta Smith. I'll guarantee you that right now. It's a little scary with him looking like an outlier. We have Zach Charbonnet going big 67 to the Arizona Cardinals. Should be a very bad offense. James Conner is under contract this next season, but I think we can assume if they were to invest in a Zach Charbonnet, who, in my mind, phenomenal prospect. He has the size, he has the receiving down skill set, and he's a decent athlete. I mean, I really like him. I don't love the fact that he falls to day 2 of the NFL draft, more in particular round 3 of the NFL draft. I don't like that he's going to a bad offense. I don't like that he's going to a team that has an established veteran running back for at least this next season. I don't know. I kind of wanted to put him ahead of Addison. Now, at 11, we're going to have Zay Flowers going to the Carolina Panthers to play alongside Will Levis. And with Zay Flowers, I think this would be a phenomenal selection from a Panthers point of view. You're pairing up DJ Moore with the wide receiver. They can almost do a little bit of everything. We know DJ Moore isn't that deep threat. He's been used as a deep threat at times in Carolina, but that's not where he's most effective. If you can put Zay Flowers all over the line of scrimmage and be a ready, polished NFL wide receiver that isn't going to be pigeonholed into a specific role, I think it gives a lot of flexibility to this Carolina Panthers offense. I think it would help Will Levis a lot, but at the same time, we'd have to be making the bet that both Will Levis is going to hit, then Zay Flowers is going to hit, and if we're going to be looking at DJ Moore, I think he's definitely going to be the wide receiver 1 in this case. Now, going over to our next guy, I'm going to be going Jalin Hyatt at 12. He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars at 25. Now, obviously, Jacksonville already has Christian Kirk, already has Calvin Ridley. So maybe this seems like a little bit of overkill with them just going through and completely overhauling their wide receiver room. I would actually really like this from an NFL fit perspective. You have Hyatt as the field stretcher. You have Kirk going back to being a more so slot wide receiver, as we saw him way back at Texas A&M being his specialty. Then you have Calvin Ridley as the prototypical alpha X guy, seeing the majority of the volume. I think it would be a safe landing spot in that we know he's going to get on the field. He's playing with an elite level quarterback, but obviously his ceiling would be a little bit capped because probably be the wide receiver 3 in his offense. But now our next guy, Josh Downs, was a wide receiver that I was very excited and very optimistic about coming into the NFL Combine. I mean, if we're looking at his production profile, as a sophomore, he counted for over 40% of his team's receiving yards on a per game basis. That's unbelievable. That's phenomenal. He declares early, but the thing is with Josh Downs, he is incredibly small. The man's 5'9", 171. Now, we knew he was going to be small coming into the NFL Combine, but to be this tiny, it's real concerning. I'm going to do an in-depth video later this week talking about both Jordan Addison as well as Josh Downs and the historical comps that you have for wide receivers at this size. And if he were to exceed, he would be an outlier. But like I said, I love the production profile. I love the landing spot to the Packers at 46. I think Downs would be the perfect complement to Christian Watson. I would love it. Now, Keyshawn Baptiste is going to be our next guy, 43 to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, here you're looking at a spot where you have Amari Cooper as the alpha. You have Donovan Peoples-Jones as the deep threat. Baptiste would be someone that you can actually move all over the line of scrimmage. You don't have to pigeonhole him like you would a JSN, but like I said, JSN's going to be very good in that role he's going to be stepping into. I would love it from a Browns perspective. You're playing with probably an elite level quarterback in Deshaun Watson, but the man was not athletic to say the least at the Combine, and I don't know. I just feel like he's a massive question mark. Definitely a high ceiling though. Now, we're going to go back-to-back tight ends here, 15, 16. Not too much to discuss. I don't love what we saw from these guys at the Combine, but what I do love is the landing spots you have. Michael Mayer, 22 to the Los Angeles Chargers, an elite offense that needs a tight end. Dalton Kincaid, 29 to the Cincinnati Bengals, an elite offense that needs a tight end. But 9 times out of 10, probably not a good thing to be investing into a rookie tight end. But it is what it is. Now, I think that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please go down there, drop a like, subscribe if you play Dynasty, and if you want to get in our fantasy football group chat, you can find that link in the description, find it in the comment section. It's completely free. Click the link, choose your nickname, and then you're in there. But I think that's all I got for you. Thank you again. Appreciate you, and hope you have a great day.